Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Data Tech Talk. Today I have a very special guest with me, one of my really favorite people. Her name is Shefali Sonpar, and she's actually a digital transformation leader, and she has been in the industry for more than 20 plus years in the insurance and operations avenue as well. And she's also a data and digital evangelist. Shefali, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you, Shomama, for having me. It's a complete honor that you thought of me.
Thank you. Thank you. So I really am interested to know a little bit about your journey so far in your career and what you also think about, because I don't know that recently we discussed a little bit about customer experience in the digital era. So I would love to talk about that. But let's start with, your career path and how you got to where you are today.
So I've had a very interesting career, I must confess. I started off my career on the business side. I'm an underwriter. I'm a certified life underwriter. Been an underwriter for a few years. But by virtue of my natural flair to be understanding and using technology to basically simplify my life and the sheer laziness of doing repetitive work, I gravitated naturally to the technology side fairly early in my career. I was one of the people who actually jumped from the IT side into business side into the IT side as early as I think 2005, 2004. Had a very interesting experience as a consultant, worked in consulting, led fairly significant programs across the globe while I was working in US, Europe, Canada, before I came back to India. Now I'm based in India. And have had very, I must say that the advantage of working in the technology side, but having a very deep appreciation of business and the processes in insurance really gives you an advantage and an edge when you're working in digital transformation. Because I truly believe digital transformation is by the and for the business. And the outcome of it has to be to the user. The user could be your end customer, your user could be your agent, your user could be the underwriter. Keep the user or the customer at the center of your solution and evolve the digital solution that you're building around it. And you will see magic happen. I've seen it happen, and I've seen failures happen when that doesn't happen.
That's very interesting. So you've seen failures happen when you are not focusing around the customer or the user themselves. And what are some of the other challenges that you've experienced in digital transformations?
I think in my experience, I will say that one critical failure point for many programs are whether it's a data program, a digital program, or a business, what is very simply called an automation and a straight-through processing program, is that it is not integrated. The business process and the applications are not integrated. What I mean by that is the business people and the IT people are not integrated. Very often these programs are run in silo by the IT, more like, they've been given away as a project to the IT department, whether internally or externally, that's not important, but it is a silo department working for the business, and the business is very often not integrated, either because of design or because of bandwidth issues, whatever they may be. And that, I believe, has often been the critical failure point. It is not the vision, it is not the people, it is not the money or the investment. It is not even the digital tool we choose, because very often when a program fails, it becomes very easy to blame the tool, to say, oh, Informatica didn't work, or this didn't work, or IBM didn't work, or Microsoft didn't work. Well, it's none of those. A tool is as good as its user. And the user is your underwriter, your user is your claim analyst, your user is your customer, your user is the broker, your user is the agent. Keep him or her in mind and build an intuitive solution around that will lead to success.
That's excellent. Very interesting feedback as well. So I kind of really want to touch upon one point, which is, the whole experience of whatever solution you build for the customer. How do we humanize it in this digital era? Like everything is digital. We are currently speaking digitally as well because of the pandemic situation, and of course geographic distances as well. But I'm very eager to understand from you, first of all, what does humanization of customer experience mean? And then secondly, how can we build further products with humanization of customer experience?
Let me share with you a very interesting data point that I recently was reading. The customer net performance score, an NPS as they call it, or satisfaction score, this year, the last H1, has been the lowest in the last 25 years of the history of insurance.
Crazy.
Complaint levels have shot up increasingly in the last, especially during this pandemic age, where we have the opportunity to go to the regulators. Regulators are being inundated with requests and complaints of how insurance are not servicing potentially the claims or the products that have been served. So that's a very important data point, because we've always known that insurance has been plagued with low customer satisfaction level and low loyalty level. When this one event takes that level even down, it's time for us to ponder and think.
Mm-hmm.
The second point I'd also say is that as we build digital solutions, we have very often seen a customer as an object that gives you revenue, an object that needs to be mined, an object that needs to be, especially when you're talking about adopting AI and intelligence, extract. Very often forgetting that insurance is actually a service industry and we need to service them. And who do you service? A human being. Insurers, the customers will come to you most often when they're having a very difficult situation in their life. It's either an accident, a loss in business, a fire of the house. If it's marine insurance, your cargo has got damaged and lost. Absolutely, we are indemnifying the financial loss, but there is a huge human element to this whole claim experience. There are two parts that insurers need to remember. You're dealing with human beings at the core of your product. You may still turn around and say, unfortunately, this aspect of your claim is not covered, but how you handle it becomes extremely important. Similarly, when you're looking at the customer for upselling, cross-selling, mining, are you just bombarding the person because you have a technology now which does an auto dialer dial out and constantly call the person or send messages to the person and just bombard the person with the technology available? Or are you treating him like a human being and being sensitive about his requirements? Today, one of the beauties that has happened is because of the pandemic, a lot of people have actually started putting a lot of personal data into the public sphere. It's an opportunity for insurers and all other financial services companies to look at it and see, are we going to be exploiting it or using it to your advantage? Situations like a birth of a child, a family reunion, any of the life events can actually be very socially brought in and positioned to a client, saying, wow, congratulations, we believe you had a child. Leave it at that, and then say, we'd love to come and support you and partner with you, or help cover the risk. Do you want to get into a discussion as compared to child insurance? Bombard, 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 bombard. Pandemic, you're going to go to hospital. Bombard, 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 bombard. Look at the person as a human being. Auto claims. When you have an accident, it's one of the most mentally disturbing thing to be in a car accident. And the last thing I want to do is submit a long set of claim documentation to get the claim. Today with technology, you can, and many insurers have already automated the complete insurance claim process. From the point of identifying where you are, your GPRS will tell you where your car is, to the point of extent of damage. A video capture can, today analytics has gone to a point where you can easily identify the extent of damage instantly, almost instantly, and create a claim reserve without the customer so much as submitting one document. The empathetic point comes when an automated call comes in, and when you have an accident and the customer gets a call saying, you know what, we believe you had an accident. Do you want a roadside assistance? Do you need an ambulance? As compared to, oh, you had an accident, send me 55 things. It changes the approach empathetically. Be it business insurance or personal insurance, if you can look at the customer as a human being, build your processes at, look at the customer value and the customer journey, and look at technology as an enabler to that, the effects are multifold. Now, I spoke about this auto claim example. Think about the impact. Yes, of course, imagine if somebody calls you and says, are you okay? Can we send a roadside assistance? I'll upload the video. Obviously, as a customer, you are shocked because you don't expect that from an insurer. You are feeling taken care of, which again, you don't expect from an insurer. But look at it from the regulatory and the claim risk point of view. We all know that the longer the time between claim submission and claim event, the chances of fraud increases. Here we are looking at digital enabler to make an instant risk capture and analysis. I have an instant photograph of the damage. So there is no way tomorrow the customer can come back and say, oh, by the way, that mirror damage also. It is not possible. Either can the third party who comes in change their stand of whether the claim happened or not, or the accident happened or not. This also makes sure that your claim data is completely clean and current. So when you go to the regulators to submit your claim records, the regulator has a lot more confidence on the way you're running your operations. Possibly in the near and the midterm, allowing you to release some of your reserves because they have a lot more confidence on you and the way you run your operations. Now, these reserves can be used for operations and improving your overall capability, new product development, moving ahead. A small intervention where you kept the customer at the center not only helps the customer, it helps your operations, it helps your risk parameters, and it helps your regulators. It's a holistic view, a simplistic view, which insurers can adopt.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's such a great insight. And I hope, those of you who are in the insurance industry watching this can take some learnings, key learnings from this conversation as well. I have, however, seen one or two instances in the past of a very well media portrayed mishap, I would say, of being human-centric in a way, because that human-centric approach was because of the technology itself. So how it goes is something like this. It's a huge retail company in US, and there was a customer who used to frequently shop from there, and that person, I think she was a teenager, and she was shopping for items related to pregnancy test or things like that. And what eventually happened is the database detected that this person is looking for these kinds of information, and she's buying these kind of products, so we should probably send her things related to baby products. Now, what happened is that because that girl was underage, and probably the parents didn't know that she was possibly pregnant, they started sending coupons of baby products, and all of a sudden that customer's father got very upset about it. Like, why are you sending us these advertisements? We are not, nobody in our house is pregnant. Why are you doing that? And this became a huge debate and a debacle. So obviously the customer-centric approach is very, very appropriate in this case, where you are verifying. In this case, if they had verified that the person is underage, they would have probably been more discreet about sending them coupons or anything of that sort, instead of a technology telling them, yep, this person has bought this thing, hence send her this particular advertisement. So I completely agree with you as well. And I was also wondering, in order to create this kind of customer experience, which is human-centric, what kind of skills would you recommend to industries, especially in insurance industry, in the data management industry? What kind of skills should they have?
I think the kind of, so there are for any program to be successful, there are two things that are required. One is, of course, a vision that you need. What do you want to achieve in the 30, 60, 90 and 2, 4, 5-year plan? That needs to be charted out very clearly. And why I say 30, 60, 90 is because while you have the long-term vision, you should always be able to have that agility to respond because digital is new, and we need to be able to adjust and adapt so that we are still aligned to the long-term vision and actually moving in that direction. So that's one. So you need to have a leader and the ability to chalk out that long-term vision. I have seen successful CIOs, and in my own experience, where I have actually had a wall where we've actually planted what we want to achieve, and with broad milestones saying, in 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, what are we going to achieve? But at the same time, the 30, 60, 90 is very, very fluid and agile to align to that. So that's, I think, one, having a clear vision of what you want to do and where you want to go. Number two, I think having the right people in your digital team. Traditional large insurers have a business team and an IT team. Today, for digital companies, and we see that insurtechs, most insurtechs that are doing well have what I like to call a T skill. They're strong foundation in the industry, but have a very strong knowledge in business and technology. Because ultimately this technology is serving the business, and the business is going to use this technology. And so the person here, the team here is extremely important. I have seen, and when I've worked with insurtechs who actually, and you can title that anything you want, but they have this strong team that takes this vision ahead and builds that out. Because a big bang approach very often doesn't work in large organizations, because you need to keep your as is also alive. You have grown through multiple acquisitions, especially in the mature markets. And now as even the so-called developing markets like India and China also are seeing a lot of M&A. So there are going to be a lot of legacy coming in, which needs to be maintained and respectfully handled. But as we move ahead, there needs to be this future that is built. I have seen some progressive insurers actually keeping this team and building a separate kind of organic organization into this, which allows future. So maintaining the past, ensuring it's stable, and also there are going to be some customer bases that still are comfortable with the traditional base, remembering very clearly as we move ahead, more and more millennials, more and more digital native customers are going to be your base. So be ready to address that clientele as much as you're happy servicing the old one. So the T is my summary.
Yeah, thanks for that, Shefali ma'am. And I also wanted to ask you, in terms of the pandemic, how do you see people changing the way they interact with data, the way they handle data, even not just in the context of insurance industries, but also in operations, in data and digital context as well?
So data is a very interesting animal. I've had the benefit of working in the data as an animal, as I call it, for now, I think about 8-9 years of my experience, very hands-on and very close. And what I really, really enjoy is the possibility of what we can do with data and how we can use it correctly. Having said that, our industry, like I said, has grown through legacy and growth. So there are some challenges of incomplete data, and our assumptions to plug in those data and make long-term decisions. And those who've been in this industry long enough, we understand what is called the butterfly effect, right? A volcano in Brazil is going to create a damage in California, which is, that's what the data may show to say, yes, there are linkages. So you need the intelligent human interventions. And like I said, the people who understand the business impact of that data to see it in a holistic approach. The possibility of fresh new data. So there are 2-3 things you need to do. One, as you look at historic data, which may not be complete, clean, or standardized, how do we handle that? Use the business logic and the strong people with the T skill, the business and the technology to build intelligence into it. Make sure that the new data coming into the system is recorded well and clean. So there is a lot of rigor and compliance around that. And over the course of 3 to 4 years, you'll then have a much, much cleaner pool of data. It's the way I look at it, it's a glass which is full of water, and you keep pouring clean water. If it's a colored glass and you keep pouring clean water, very quickly the water will become clean. But you also need to manage the unclean water and ensure that if you use it and drink it, use it with the knowledge that you will need to have it cleaned out, or use intelligence to get logic out of it. Like you rightly said, for this retail example you gave, possibly they were not capturing the age of the customer historically. All they were doing is credit card number so-and-so bought 5 products. They did not realize the demographics of the person is also important. Male, female is important, which has led them to this huge PR issue. Had they captured that, because it becomes a very, look at the customer as a human being. A human being has age, has a gender, has a region she lives in. They have aspects to them. So look at that data holistically and not just what you believe is right.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And in terms of the general trends you see in the market, whether it's about humanization or whether it's about the trends in digital transformation, what are you seeing currently in the industry around you, in your, with the extended colleagues that you have in the industry as well?
I think the adoption of a holistic digital solution is something everybody is looking at. Also, as we see, infrastructure is really catching up. 5 years ago, if you and I were having this conversation, we would say, yes, possibilities, but there's so many interruptions. We don't have infrastructure, we don't have broadband. Now we are going to get 5G very soon. If you're talking about mobility, availability of quality mobile devices, it was not as much as there. Either you had a very high range or the quality was very poor. Today, a lot of those infrastructure, hardware, software challenges are being neutralized, which now means that the possibility of what we were talking a few years ago is real. The second excuse, I always say, which insurers hid behind, was that insurance is a very high touch industry. Customers don't want us to adopt digital. I think this pandemic has helped us ease that problem. Most customers, and I'll give you an example of my mother, who's almost 75, is now doing Zoom calls. Right? Somebody who traditionally used to go to a bank to do basic transactions, she had this checkbook and her passbook to be updated, now looks at the digital, logs into her account and checks her bank account. I think most people have mentally geared up to adopt digital. I don't think the industry has done service to that. And I think there's a lot of potential now to make the processes available customer friendly. And that, I think, is the opportunity the industry needs to capture.
Yeah, absolutely. Recently I had this opportunity to talk to someone who was also, exactly the same things that you were saying, is how do we ensure that, the way we are becoming digital as human beings, how do we ensure that digital is serving our purpose as well? And it revolves around many different things, not just intelligent data analysis of the person you're interacting with, but also feedback loop. So anything to do with AI and machine learning, but also understanding the security aspects of it, because you're dealing with more and more private data sets. What do you consider even as a private data set? That has also become, a question in some of these programs. Like, is my, let's say, is my date of birth a private data set for a retail industry? I don't know, things like that. So yeah, I totally see all these different trends that you're talking about. From my personal experience as well, in the digital transformation era, I've seen that banks adopting different kinds of digital transformation way faster than they had planned before. So they had probably planned like a 5-year strategy that, okay, after 2025, we will be, fully digital bank, or fully digital functional bank. But now this pandemic has expedited this process, and they're still in the transition. This transition phase is what needs to be managed very, very carefully. And it is a job of not just the business, but the technical, the project manager, the leader, even the sponsors.
It's a joint, yeah.
Yeah, it's a joint event as well. So I totally feel what you just talked about. So we're almost at the end of the interview, but I would love to know, in terms of this pandemic, and a lot of people, unfortunately, they're losing jobs, or they have lost jobs, and they're in the process of looking for jobs. What would your advice be to them, to especially maybe in the insurance industry, or maybe in the data world, or maybe even humanization of customer-centric approach? What would your advice be in terms of them developing the skills or reaching out to the right people?
I think it's very unfortunate, and it's a reality that a lot of people are being downsized. Organizations, there is a ripple effect of the economic impact that's happened because of the lockdowns. And I was having a discussion with somebody just recently. One person losing a job, it's not just that person losing a job. It's an ecosystem that gets impacted. They are not going to purchase. You're going to be hesitant to even make basic purchases, which you would normally maybe not have hesitated. Then that business gets affected, and that business then thinks, oh, I'm not making enough revenue, I need to downsize. So the ripple effect of one person losing a job is large, and now you're looking at mass scale firing. Having said that, I am fairly optimistic that these are myopic and short-term measures which organizations are doing to really do that, and they have to because of their balance sheets. But we are also seeing green shoots happening in different sides of the industry. Just 2 days ago, I was reading a report where the PNC, non-life insurance as you call it in India, the premiums are as high as the last year for July. So year on year, we are at par. So there was a tremendous dip that happened in February, but that dip has recovered, and we are almost at par as far as renewals and new premiums are concerned. Similarly, other industries that we are seeing, people are coming back, manufacturing units are opening up. So economy is now normalizing despite the COVID situation we are in, because everybody is realizing you have to open up your businesses. Governments are slowly going to start withdrawing the support. We are already seeing indications of that. And so individual business owners are going to start doing what they need to do to keep their businesses alive. And so I would say, don't lose hope. If you have the right skills and you are in the right frame of mind, few months down the line, I am quite sure that things are going to open up. Having said that, there is going to be a transition phase for many of us, and use that time to really keep abreast of what's happening in the industry. We are just talking about, if, like I said, about a year ago, had we had this conversation, we would be only talking about customer centricity and the challenges therein. Today, we are talking about humanizing customer centricity, which is a very different ball game and a different mindset. right? And this is a conversation I seem to be having with more and more people. Humanizing customers is very different from being customer centric. We were talking about adopting AI and having a emoji kind of a lady saying, hello customer. Today we know that won't cut the customer's interest, because unless the lady who you're talking to really knows what's happening behind, and your data behind is clean and is able to give you the information you want, it's actually going to create more irate customers. And at this point where we're already at an all-time low in customer experience, I don't think the industry can afford it. We have a lot of these examples we laugh about where Alexa doesn't understand what we've asked for. Alexa, play this song, and it actually plays something else. It's funny to an audience, but imagine the human who's doing this. And it's very important that insurers are there for their customers, and we will have to have the right talent on our team to deliver that customer experience, and not just do digital transformation for the sake of digital transformation, or be a tick mark, a CDO being a tick mark mandatory because regulators are asking for it. We have to, as an industry, evolve, and it will happen, and good skills and good people who have the right skills will get back into the market. So keep your head up high, keep upskilling yourself, stay relevant is what I would say.
Thank you so much, Shefali ma'am, for your time today. With that, we have come to the end of the show. Thanks. If you have made it this far, thanks for watching. And please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's a DataTechTalk. I'll post it with this update as well. And if you have any other people you want to be on this interview channel, please let me know, and send me an email or a message. If you want to contact Shefali ma'am as well, please send me a message and I'll definitely try to link you up with her. Thanks again, Shefali ma'am, for your time today.
Thank you so much, Mama, for having me. It's a complete honor to have this platform, and best of luck to you.
Thanks. Bye-bye now.